Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Obsidian Achievement. This is your host, Mike Russin. What I wanted to talk about today has to do with your thoughts. Your thoughts. See, many times your brain can't distinguish the reality that you create in your head from the reality that you actually experience, right? And I guess reality in the sense is subjective in the way that I'm using it, but you have this interesting function, this part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And basically what the reticular activating system is that if you think about buying a mattress, you're going to see mattress advertisements everywhere, right? Does that ever happen to you? Like if you are shopping for a car, you start seeing car advertisements everywhere. So what the reticular activating system does is it helps your brain pick up on things. Like if I'm sitting in a crowded diner and there's a bunch of people speaking and I'm thinking about maybe something that's going on in the world right now, like let's say inflation, for example, and I hear somebody at another table say inflation, my brain's going to pick up on that as opposed to drowning it out as white noise, right? So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that which you focus on, your brain is going to start to pick up in your environment around you. And the more that your brain picks up certain things in your environment around you, the more that it's going to shape your thoughts and then your behavior, right? So I want us all to be very careful about our thoughts because our thoughts will ultimately create our reality, either good or bad. So you need to be very careful about the types of thoughts that you're allowing to ruminate in your head, that you're allowing to take root in your brain and start to run, because I think we pay so little attention to our subconscious mind. We pay such little attention to what goes on behind the scenes, but that's the most important part of our thought process is what happens in our subconscious, because our subconscious leaks into our conscious, our thoughts become our words become our actions and behaviors, and our actions and behaviors become our habits, which thus create our character in our life. So if we're not paying attention to what's going on in the subconscious, which many of us run on autopilot, like you probably think the same thoughts nearly every single day. And that's exactly why you are where you are at in life right now, is because you're thinking the same thoughts every single day. And that's why every single day is, with the exception of some little differences here and there that are specific to that particular day and its events, every single day for you is the same. There's no difference in overall outcome as you look at 30 days strung together, 60 days strung together, 90 days strung together. If you want to see major change occur in your life around you, that change first starts with your thoughts and your thinking process. If you don't take control of your mind, you will be a slave to it. You need to learn to control your mind like it's a wild animal. You need to bring it under subjugation to you. You need to train it. You need to work on it and train it. And this is something that's very difficult to do because many of us for decades of our life have just allowed our mind to just run wild. It would be like taming a wild animal. It'd be like taming a tiger or a lion that's been in the wild its entire life. It's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible. So until we start to learn to bring our mind under control, you are going to be controlled by your mind. What types of thoughts are you thinking daily? Are you thinking, let's just stop there. Are you thinking about what you're thinking about? Are you in a conscious, and this is why I like meditation. Meditation is not about quieting your mind, as many people think. Maybe over time that's a result. But meditation is about observing your mind as a non-participant. Many of us can't distinguish. Like we can't even distinguish our own thoughts. We can't even see our thoughts as something separate than us because we've allowed our mind to just run. And this is why so many people deal with anxiety and depression, because they just allow their mind to think whatever thoughts it wants to think. And here's the thing. we are a product of our environment, and most of our environment is negative. Look at social media, look at the news, turn on the TV, like listen to your neighbor. Like, dude, everybody and everything is negative. So the reason why we think so negatively is because we have constant negative input. We don't observe our thoughts, so our thoughts become negative, and now we attract all these negative circumstances. Like, there comes a point in your life, and I've gotten to this point recently where it's like, I almost let life beat me down to the point where I started to not believe in myself. I started to think I was a bad person. I started to think I was a negative person, and I literally started to act like a wild animal as a result because I let my mind off the chain. If you don't learn to control your thoughts, your mind is going to run wild, and you're going to run wild. Or you're going to sit there apathetic and drunk and high all the time and accomplish nothing. And even if you're not drunk and high all the time, you're still going to die in an apathetic state. Go to work, pay my bills, and die. You need to learn to start to control your mind, because that's what happens. Negative thoughts, negative influences, negative things start to creep in your life, and they'll start to brainwash you. And it's easier for your mind to think negatively than it is to think positively. It's almost like negative is the default, and taking any positive, like creating any positive thoughts or momentum in your brain takes energy. And your mind is inherently lazy. We are inherently lazy. Like, we are wired, evolutionarily speaking, to expend, not that I believe in full-blown evolution, by the way. Let's just put that out there, okay? I'm a creationist. But I do believe in evolution to a part that we do evolve and, get better, some would argue, or worse over time as a species. But anyways, we're evolutionarily wired to expend as little energy as possible, right? Because we think, well, food sources are still limited, but not as like they were a couple hundred years ago, right? So your mind is going to take the easy way out every single time, which means your mind is going to default to the negative. There's no expenditure of energy when it comes to being negative, but being positive is something that you need to do intentionally. So how can you change the way that your mind behaves? The way that you change the way your mind behaves is you become a casual observer of it. You start to take an inventory of the thoughts that you're having on a day-to-day basis. That's number one. You can't admit there's a problem if you don't realize the problem exists. You need to start to take inventory of the thoughts that you have on a day-to-day basis. I guarantee you, if you have 100,000 thoughts a day, 99,000 of them are negative. I guarantee it. Surrounded by poison. Everybody I talk to in a week to week, everybody talks in terms of limitations and I'm being realistic and limited. It's so funny. I'm in the staffing company, on the staffing business, and everybody's questions are always negative about a great opportunity because they're wired to be negative and pessimistic. So you need to start to take an inventory of your thoughts. That's number one. Number two is you need to start to control your environment. You need to start to control your environment. If you are in a negative environment, you're going to have negative thoughts. It's that simple. So you need to start, as a grown-ass man or woman, to start to control your environment, which means you need to cut out media that's negative, and you need to start to cut out people that are negative. Start to cut out media that's negative and start to cut out people that are negative. Until you start to learn to do this, you're going to continue to attract negative circumstances to yourself. Number three, after controlling your environment, is to inject that environment with intentional positivity. The books that you read, the things that you listen to, like this podcast and many others. The people that you start to put positive people in your life around you. I don't like to be around negative people. I find them detestable and gross. You get one shot at life and you're going to be negative and realistic. It's pathetic. So you need to start, A, realize that there's a problem. Start to be an observer of your mind and your thoughts. B, take an inventory of your thoughts. B, is you need to start to control your environment by eliminating the negativity. And then C, is you need to start injecting that environment intentionally with positivity. Until you do that, I'm telling you right now, you're going to keep attracting bullshit into your life if you don't start to take control of your thoughts. All right? So this is a great episode today. Please, guys, I got zucked on Instagram. Okay, in Facebook, the algorithm is burying me. Okay, I'm up against some odds here. If this episode or this podcast at any point in time has made a difference in your life, please share it. I'm not charging you for this. I charge $500 an hour for consulting. You get this 10 minutes for free, plus hours of content for free. Just share the damn episode. That's all I'm asking you to do. All right, thank you guys. I love you. Let's get it.